Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. I want to introduce you to our new series. So what you're looking at here is a schematic for a Philco Model 50-524. Obviously made in 1950, around there somewhere. And the thing that's really cool about this radio, first of all on the schematic you can tell that they've got all the sections broken down so that you can look section by section. This is especially important when you're troubleshooting. For example, on the Atwater Kent that I just finished, that was one of the ways that I was able to track the problem down to the detector tube. If you recall, I put a signal generator on the antenna, was able to get it to the detector. I also put an audio generator in the output section and was able to trace it back and found that my problem was in the detector section. Hard to say. So this radio makes it really simple. Now this series is going to be a little bit different than a typical restoration, because what we're going to do here is a couple of things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the radio back to working. The radio's not working. The power cord's been cut. It needs some work, and you'll see that underneath in a moment. After we get the radio working, we're going to make some mods to the radio. Nothing that's going to impair its value, but mods that are going to make it sound a hell of a lot better. That's going to include a new speaker, a new 4-inch speaker, a much more modern and better sounding speaker. And we're going to do some tone mods. We're going to add a tone control so that we're able to get some really cool sound out of this thing. And you have to ask yourself, why would you want to do that? Well, you know, sometimes radio like this can be used with an AM transmitter. Let's say you want to transmit YouTube videos to it, or you want to listen to some, rebroadcasts of old radio serials, that kind of thing. So we're going to do that, and that hopefully some of you will learn something from it. The thing that's really, really unique about this radio, that I personally, why I chose it, is it has 3 different types of tubes. It has your typical octal tube, all right? This would be your output tube, for example. And then it has a 7-pin tube, which is your IF amp. And then it has some loctal tubes, which is your detector and your converter. And of course your rectifier is a standard octal. So you've got octal, loctal, and 7-pin. 3 different types of tubes in this radio, which is kind of unique. So that's one of the things that's good about this. So in our first episode coming up next, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you that I've repaired the power section and gotten the radio playing, hopefully, with some fingers crossed here. But I want to explain a little bit about the power section, something I'm going to do just a little bit differently when I do this, and I'll explain why. So if you look at the power section here, let me zoom in just a little bit more. You'll see that we have 3 capacitors. We have a 30, a 25, and a 20. We're going to replace those with 47s. And you ask, why would you do that? Well, we're going to do that because that will help support the work that we want to do from a tone perspective. You got to remember, when these radios were made, capacitors were expensive and large. So they ended up putting smaller capacitors in because that's what's cheaper and that's what fit. And by doing that, you sacrifice the sound, right? If you have a smaller capacitor, think about what happens to your B+, right? You're not able to hold it up there and sustain it long enough to drive really good sound out of the radio. So by replacing the 30, the 25, and the 20 with 47s, we're actually adding some oomph to the radio out of the box. Okay? We're also going to be putting a safety capacitor right here for obvious reasons, and we're going to move the power switch up to the hot side, obviously. And we're going to put another safety capacitor in the RF section. And we'll explain that one in a future video why we're doing that. It's going to go right over here somewhere. So the first order of business is get the radio working, get capacitors changed, and then we're going to take a look at all the old paper caps that are under there and replace those. And then we're going to check all the resistors. Let me show you what it looks like underneath the chassis so you get a feel. Before we do that, we'll just show you the tubes real quick so you can see the differences. For those of you that don't have a lot of experience with radios, I'll just walk through this really quickly. This is our output tube right here, and you'll see that that's an octal tube. It's got the black base. This tube right here, which is a 7A8, is actually our converter right here. And this is a loctal tube. It's got the metal band on it. And when you take this out, I'll show you what it looks like. It actually locks in place. That's why it's called a loctal. And you'll see it's got that metal pin in the center. See that? And you have to rock it back and forth to get it out of there. So this is a loctal tube right here. We'll leave this out because we're going to clean it anyway. Over here in the center, we have our 12BA6. This is our IF amp tube. There's a 7-pin right there. Over here we have a 14B6, and the 14B6 is our detector. Right here is our rectifier, and this is our output tube. And that's all the radio is. And you can see the speaker is, you know, for its day, probably a good one, but not a lot of magnet there. You're not going to get great sound out of it, so we're going to replace that. And then looking underneath, we'll pull this shot back just a little bit. You'll see that we have our electrolytics here. Someone wrapped this up in tape, so I don't know what the story is with that. We'll figure that out. Looks like someone replaced it with a metal can of some sort. I don't even know what value it is, but it's not important. And then if you look under here, we have 1, 2, 3. There's one buried under here. 4, 5, 6, 7 paper caps. And this one's just flapping in the breeze. Good reason why you never plug radios in when you first get them, right? Here's our power cord. Here's our on-off switch and our volume. And this is our tuner control. And this is our oscillator right there. So after we get all these caps out of here, we're going to check all these resistors, and they look pretty old. I'm not sure if they'll be good or not. We'll find out. If they're bad, we'll replace them. No problem. That's what we're here for. I see a mica under there. Doesn't look like there's been much work under here. It's hard to tell, but we'll find out. So the plan, get it to working, get our safety caps put in place, obviously. And then in our next episode, we're going to start talking about the mods that we're going to need for this radio. I'm also going to do a full alignment, and I'll show you some of that in the next episode. So once we get the radio working, we'll align it and make sure it's perfectly where it needs to be. And that will help us get to the next stage. So again, this is a Philco 5024. A little bit of brief history. These radios came in two forms. One is in a plastic case, and one is in a wooden box. The radio I have came in a wooden box. And here's a picture of it on the screen, right here. Okay? And if you want to see what the plastic case looked like, right here. Okay? So that's where we are. The glass dial on this thing is shot. I'm going to need to figure out what I do with that. I'll show you that real quick. You'll see the paint is coming off badly. So I'm going to need to figure out how I fix that. I've already gone to Radio Days, and they do not have this particular glass, so I'm out of luck on that, but we'll figure something out. And I've taken off the speaker grill from the front of the radio. It's right here. And it looks like a typical Philco radio, brown with smoke and soot. And this is where we're going to mount that new speaker. So we've got that. That's good. I've taken off the screws that were holding it in. I put them in the evaporust already, so we've got those getting cleaned. And let me pull the shut up and I'll show you what the case looks like, just so you have a visual reference. So this is the front of our case. And it's in relatively good shape. There's some scratches here, but we'll use some Restore finish on this thing. And here's the top. Got some scratches. Structurally, it's fine. It's nice and solid. Sides look okay. No problem with the sides. And we've got a loop antenna on the inside, right here, running around the inside of the frame. There's a loop antenna, and here's the wires. So that's it for our overview. Our next step, obviously, is to, as I stated, get the radio running, and that's what we're going to focus on. And I also have to repair a dial string. It looks like there's a dial string missing here. And I don't recall if I have the spring or not. Let's see. I know I have the pointer. So here's the pointer. We've got that. Let's see if I've got the spring. I do. I have the spring, so that's good news. So we'll have to get that dial string put back on. A lot of people hate doing that. I actually like that. I think it's fun. And this radio actually shows you how to do it, so it's real simple. The documentation on this thing is just phenomenal, being that it's not so old. And remember, it's 20 years younger than the one I just finished. So there's just a little bit more information. Look how small this is compared to that big beast I was just working on. So that's where we are. I'm going to put this video up now. In episode 2, we'll have this thing playing, and then we'll do our alignment, and we'll talk about our next mod coming up. All right? Hope you look forward to this one. Hope somebody gets to learn something. I know I will. All right? Everybody have a great day. Take care.